Starring, amongst others, Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Jeremy Renner and Paula Patton. Directed by Brad Bird off of a screenplay by Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec. This is my review for Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. So this is number 4 in my Mission Impossible reviews. 2 more to come. One of them will be the new one. I can't wait to see it. I'm getting so excited. I love doing these kind of catch-ups before a new movie comes out. I may do more of these for other movies that have sequels. So the plot of Ghost Protocol is that nuclear launch codes have been stolen and it's down to the team to track them. Unfortunately, the Kremlin gets destroyed, IMF takes the blame, and the whole operation is shut down. The entire agency. Ghost Protocol is enacted. It just leaves our 4 agents to try and save the day. So Ghost Protocol was a movie that the first time I saw it, I absolutely loved it. But in hindsight and in retrospect, watching it back now, I feel as though certain moments in the film are so good and so incredible, and still are, that it kind of hides some of the film's problems, and it does have some. But let's start with the positives first, and there are sequences in this movie that are not just the best in the Mission Impossible franchise, but some of my favourite in movies, in general. For example, Dubai. The second act of this film, everything in Dubai is phenomenal. It is so good. It's the height of Mission Impossible. This franchise hasn't got better than the Dubai sequences. And it's pretty obvious which one I'm talking about primarily, and that is the building. The Burj Khalifa is almost a character unto itself. You see it. When you know what's going to happen, when you watch this the second time and you see Ethan Hunt and everybody driving up towards Dubai, and on the skyline, there's the building just kind of towering above everything else. It's used so well. It's so awesome. And the sequence itself with him climbing out and using the sticky things to climb it, I've probably watched that at least a dozen times and it never loses its impact. It never becomes less amazing and less just incredible. It's awe-inspiring to watch. Ethan Hunt has done many things that makes it seem like he's some kind of superhero over the film. So as I've said, particularly in the second. With this one though, he feels like a regular guy just doing something batshit crazy. And what I love the most about this, and this probably will get the bulk of my attention from the review because I love it, but what I love the most is that normally Ethan Hunt's just yep, I'm going to do this, guy. It's like, I've got this covered. I'm Ethan Hunt. I can handle it. But when he's told what he has to do and he has to climb out and just literally scale the size of this building that's just astronomically high, he tries to find a way out of it, which I love because it gives the whole sequence a lot more credence. It makes it seem like something that's really happening because Ethan doesn't want to do it. He's trying to find any other way possible and exploring all other avenues to try and stop him having to do something nuts. And it really builds the tension. It's just a little moments. His ways of trying to find ways out of it is only about 10-15 seconds worth of dialogue, but it really stresses that, yeah, this is insane. And the tension doesn't stop from this whole thing. First from the glove going, the first one. And I love that he finds it further up and it's just sticking to the window and just squeals off into the distance. It's a great little moment. But when he's cutting the glass and it kind of shocks and sends him flying off the building, to when he has to run back down, literally sprinting down it to the Mission Impossible theme tune, which is just an incredible moment. Absolutely love it. This is just a moment I don't think that can be topped in any of these. And it does cause some problems for the actual film itself as well, but just that sequence taken on its own, mind-blowingly good. So good. As is the use of the sandstorm as well. It doesn't let up, Ghost Protocol at times. I say particularly in that second act, you go from Ethan running down a building and making that jump as well. It's so good, so well done. To them going back to spy stuff. So it goes action to spy when they're trying to do the double meeting and trying to con these people into thinking they're other people. Straight from that into a chase through a sandstorm. It's, as I mentioned with Mission Impossible 2 being too much action, this literally goes from action to spy to action and does it seamlessly as well. Everything in Dubai is great. The only thing that I would say about the second act is that the chase goes on just a little bit too long. The brilliant part where Ethan jumps out the car after he sends it on a collision course with the other one, and then the guy's out, and then you see the guy is still running away, and Ethan gives chase yet again. That's probably the only part in the second act where I was like, okay, come on, let's wrap it up. And thankfully it did just afterwards, but I feel that just went on just a little bit too much. And I said about blending the action and the spy stuff, the The whole sequence in Russia with the Kremlin is, again, I think one of my favourites. That's what I mean about this film. It has so many good moments that just makes me think the whole thing's better than it is. But the use of the spy technology, of faking the background to make it seem like they're not really there, just wonderful stuff. I love seeing all of this spy stuff in action, and this has some of the best. And another thing about that, just before the Kremlin explodes, which again, amazing moment, I just love Ethan being in the general costume and watching him go from looking like a Russian general to looking like an American tourist in about 3 seconds. It's such a well done sequence. It's such a well done little moment just to see him. I can't remember, he had a silly t-shirt on, I can't remember what it was now, but just to see him literally go from one person to another and for us to see that change happen. Yeah, it's great. Brad Bird does some real good work here, and this was his first live action one, I think. He did Incredibles before, so he knows how to make action sequences, but this was his first time doing it with live action, and yet, can't really fault him. The cast is a lot better here too, specifically the IMF team. Ethan Hunt, I'm going to stop saying how good Tom Cruise is because I say it in every single review. Once again, he's amazing. Jeremy Renner is a brilliant addition. I'm sad he's not going to be in Fallout. He's a great addition to this team. I love that he gets to do some of the action stuff like Cruise does, but he really doesn't want to. That jumping down and being caught with the magnets, the magnet in the fan sequence. I think I'm saying sequence a bit too much in this review. I'm not going to say sequence again. I just did. But he, much more than Ethan, feels like an everyman. Like, he doesn't want to be near explosions and things. He kind of wants to try and live the quiet life, and we do later find out why. But he instantly finds his place in this team, Renner. And I say, it's sad he's not in the new one, because this and 5, he's one of the highlights in it, at least I think for me. Simon Pegg as well comes back, so we had him briefly in the third one, and now he's in a much more prominent role, and I'm so glad he is, because Benji is a breath of fresh air. He's so good at the comedy, he's so good at little comedic moments, Simon Pegg, that this would certainly be a lesser film without his involvement in it. I think films like this need somebody who's good at comedy. It needs comedy moments, and you're hard-pressed to find better than Simon Pegg, I think, because he can handle dramatic moments really well, but can also switch in an instant to just deliver a little one-liner that doesn't feel forced. And a lot of time in action films, having somebody fulfilling that role, it does feel forced. It does feel like they're there purely to be comedy. But Pegg's such a good actor that he doesn't. Benji just treads that line, I think, perfectly between being dramatic when it needs to be, but being able to make us laugh. But then there's Paula Patton as Agent Carter, which took me back every time I heard them say Agent Carter. I missed that show. I missed that show a lot. She's fine. I really like the performance from Paula Patton, but Jane Carter, much like Maggie Hughes' character in the second, it doesn't feel like she has too much in the way of development. And it's a shame because there are moments where it feels like we're going to get some. I love that she kicks that assassin out of the window when she didn't really have to. Like there's layers to this character where it feels like she's going to be a little bit unpredictable. And she does have a personal stake in it as well. Sawyer from Lost got killed, and she was a big fan of Sawyer from Lost, and he really wasn't in it. Like, his name's in the opening credits, but he has, 3 minutes of screen time, I think, in this whole thing. So yeah, there was room, I think, to develop her a lot more than she ended up being developed. But that being said, this, I think, is the best core cast of Mission Impossible yet. I do miss Ving Rhames. I'm glad he did get to pop up at the very end. But yeah, the 4 of them are just such a great team. I think it does improve in Rogue Nation. I'm watching that literally next, so we'll see. But more than the first 3 so far, this team feels like a team. It feels like all of them I want to spend time with, and that's a definite improvement. And I do like the misdirect and the mystery over what happened to Ethan's wife as well, because at first we think they've just separated, then we think she's died, and then we found out, oh, she hasn't died, she's back at the end again. It's a bit of a nice ending to show that, nope, she's absolutely fine, don't worry about it, but it did give Jeremy Renner's character the chance to, well, it developed him. He thought that he was responsible for her and she died, and that was what's stopping him going on field missions. So I can see why they did it, and yeah, I think it works overall. As for what didn't work with this then, well, I think it peaked too soon with Dubai, because as soon as that sequence is out the way, the film loses steam very, very quickly. I don't want to say it becomes boring, but there are sequences where I was sort of seeing how long was left. And really, it's a good problem to have, because what came before it was so good, so incredibly good, that anything that comes after is really going to struggle to match it. And it doesn't. As I say, it slows right down. It gives us some character moments, which is nice, but the final fight, as it were, the final action sequence in the car park, not really car park, the car lot, doesn't have any real spectacle behind it, other than when Ethan plunges the car off bonnet first onto the ground. Like, that bit's cool, but it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a big enough finish for everything that came before it. And then there's the villain, who again, I say who is he? That's my biggest problem, I think, with Ghost Protocol, is that the villain gets absolutely no time dedicated to them at all. Like, I've watched this film a few times now, and I really can't tell you anything about this guy other than that he's stealing some nuclear codes. And that's a shame, because the last Mission Impossible 3 had a great villain. And this one, it just seems like this guy's there because they're like, oh, we need a villain in this one. TH, write something in. We'll figure it out later. There's no depth to him. There's an explanation, really, for who he is or why he's doing the things that he's doing. It's the worst villain so far out of the four of them, like, by quite some way. You can't come out of a movie like this and just feel like you know nothing about the main antagonist, but I do with Ghost Protocol. And as a result, the story just feels so jumbled as well. As I say, it has very, very good sequences. Oh, I did it. I said sequences. I said I wouldn't. Sorry. It has very, very good moments. Some of the action set pieces, as I say, are the best I think I've seen in a movie, but the actual plot itself is dull. It is. There's nothing really to it. And it's kind of hard to follow. Maybe that was just me, but at times as well. I wasn't overly sure what was going on. And when the ride was good, it's great. I'm on board with it. But when I actually kind of stopped to do this review and went, right, so what was the bad guy I want? Hang on, wait, what? I had to kind of do a Wikipedia search of it and just discover that it wasn't all that interesting. So that surprised me, because I thought that Ghost Protocol was an incredible movie, and it is a good one. Like, it's not a bad movie at all, but it certainly feels like it's lacking something. It's lacking the kind of tight storytelling that even 2 had to a degree. Even 2 was a relatively straightforward plot. This one just jumps all over the place. Like, we go to Dubai, we go to Mumbai, I think. Do we do Dubai and Mumbai? I think we do. We're just jumping about to different places, and it looks great. The film looks lovely, but there's just nothing to it. There's no substance really to it, and that's a real shame. I'm going to give Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol a 7 out of 10. What did you think of this movie? Is the Dubai sequence your favourite part of the Mission Impossible franchise as well? Let me know what your favourite moment in the entire thing is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter as well, at Joe Julians. As I say, I'll have the next Mission Impossible review up on Wednesday, and that day I'll be seeing the new one, so I hope to get that review up on Thursday. I really hope it's good. Early reviews, as far as I'm aware, have been pretty positive for this. The runtime worries me a little bit, but say, hopefully it won't drag. Hopefully it's going to be an incredible movie. We'll find out in a couple of days. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.